Hello, this is Megan from AtlantaConcerts.com, and we're here for this edition of Artist Talk at Georgia State University with Dr. Gordon Vernick. Hello, Dr. Vernick. I'm so glad you could be with me today.
Nice to be here. Thank you for taking the time to come out and talk to me.
Sure. How would you describe yourself as a musician, and how would you describe your music?
That's a really big question. How much time do you have?
Plenty of time.
Well, you know, I divide my time in a variety of different arenas, as a teacher, as an activist, as a performer, and as a mentor. So as a trumpet player, you know, I'm a musician. I play the trumpet, and I play all different kinds of music. Most of the music I play is jazz or jazz influenced music, but my background is in classical, you know, the traditional training. I'm a teacher at the university level. I also work with middle schoolers. I have a program where we call Rialto Jazz for Kids, where we partner with middle schools. So I'm working with younger kids. I have another program that I work with called Young Voices, where we play concerts for elementary school kids. I'm involved with a program for jazz music for senior citizens. I run a high school youth jazz ensemble, in addition to all the things that I do here at Georgia State University with the college students. So I'm involved with music and jazz music in particular, from elementary all the way up to senior citizens. But you know, primarily I'm a university professor, so I work here and I coordinate the jazz studies program. So we have a bachelor's and a master's degree, and I'm in charge of that program.
That's awesome. Can you tell us about the different mediums in which you perform?
Most of it is jazz. Jazz is a group of very diverse, different approaches to playing. When you say jazz, it means many different things to different people. But most of the music that I personally play, and I prefer to play, is the jazz style that really evolved in the late 1950s to 1960s, and that's really what I prefer to play. What I've played, what's referred to as New Orleans or Chicago style old time. I played in swing bands. I played in avant-garde groups. I played in smooth jazz and R&B and, you know, variety bands. So I play in all different kinds, but the stuff that I really prefer to play is acoustic, with the traditional, you know, rhythm section of piano, bass, drums, and one or two horns. I have recorded a number of CDs, and the latest one is with a quartet, and then on a few tracks we added a saxophone player to make it a quintet. So acoustic, we call straight-ahead jazz, is what I prefer to play, but anything I can do, play any kind of music that I'm asked to play.
Oh, thank you. That's really diverse. So I know you've traveled around the world to play jazz, and how has playing in these different countries affected your outlook on playing or the way you play?
Well, people are in other countries, in Europe and in Asia, not all places, but most of the places I've been seem to place a greater emphasis and great amount of respect on the performing arts, more so than we do here in this country. In the United States, it's really it's a travesty. Really, when it comes to respect for our indigenous, our American music, it really comes out of the blues and the African American tradition into jazz and you know, of course, more popular music today. But jazz music is really uniquely American, and we don't get a lot of respect for it here in our country, and it's more widely accepted and respected overseas. And most of the big-name jazz musicians that I know that we've had here at Georgia State spend a great deal of time performing and touring out of this country, because that's where they make the majority of their income. I find that there's great respect for performing arts outside of the country, and there's also in certain countries government support for live performance groups. In Sweden, I don't know if it's true now today, but for quite a long period of time, the city had a community jazz band that was sponsored by the government.
Wow.
You can't imagine something like that here in this country. So we tend to take a lot of things for granted here, and jazz performance, I mean, there's a lot of people that really enjoy listening to jazz here in Atlanta, but when I go out of the country, there's a certain feeling of a respect for performing arts and jazz music. People in other countries are really fascinated by American culture, the positive parts of it, mostly performing arts and jazz music. They're really interested in it, and they support it, and they just they're really crazy about it.
Wow, that I did not know. So you have several different degrees, and they're all from colleges spread across the United States. So what brought you to Atlanta?
I lived up in New York, so I went to school in New York, and I lived in Miami. I did a master's here, and I moved out west into Colorado, and I did my doctorate there. My first college teaching job was in a small town in Missouri, outside of Kansas City. It was actually outside of St. Joe, and it was a lovely town, a farming community, very rural. But for a performing artist, it was very difficult to find opportunities and just to be around other performers. So I was there for 4 years, and I figured out ways to get musicians to come out to this little school. I would go to Kansas City, which is a wonderful city, has a great music tradition, to perform. But after 4 years that, I was ready to go back to a big city. I'm a city person. Although I love the country and the mountains, but as a performing artist, you need access to a big city. You either have to live in one or be close to one, because that's where really all the art, performing arts, and your audiences are. So I had an opportunity to come to Atlanta in 1989, and I came here, and I've been here ever since. A lot of performing opportunities here in the city of Atlanta, and we've got our ups and downs in terms of the performing arts community right now. The economy, it always affects people's discretionary income, and that really trickles down to, are they going to go out to hear live jazz or stay home and save the money? But most people who like the arts and music will go out, and with great proof, I always look at the Depression era from early 30s and mid 30s, when the country was in a terrible depression, and we had such great music and literature and art that overcame all those economic burdens. So it does, on one level, affect performance opportunities, but I think that the arts, and especially music, really reflect the cultural and sociological health of our society. So the arts will always prevail, but it just makes it a little more difficult.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think people are always going to come out and support the arts rather than just stay at home, no matter how bad things are.